You need to start chasing the negatives of what you want instead of the positives. This sounds a little strange, right? Why would you go chasing a negative emotion? What's up, people? My name is Mike. Today I want to talk about something that I've been reading about in this book. Yeah, it's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a by Mark Manson. It's a really, really good book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend that you read it. I'm like 5 chapters in now. But I just wanted to share some of the things that I learned in the first few chapters that I thought were really interesting. One of the very first concepts that the book brings up is that life is suffering. And this is like a very common Buddhist saying where the point of life is to suffer, essentially. And there's really no way to escape that. And the sooner that you accept that life is suffering, the sooner you can learn to let go. And so the book kind of takes its own spin on that. And what it says instead is that pursuing a positive experience becomes a negative experience, while pursuing a negative experience becomes a positive experience. And when I first read that, I was like, what are you talking about, bro? But let me explain. It actually makes a lot of sense. Some of the examples given are like, if you pursue money, then you pursue money because you feel like you don't have enough. And the more that you pursue money, the more that you have this want and this need, this desire for more money, the further away your goals will seem. We've all heard stories about like the miserable millionaire. It seems like they have all the money in the world, but they want more. In their mind, they need more. If I just have $5 million, then I'll be happy. If I just have $10 million, then I'll be happy. If I just had $100 million, then I'll be happy. There's always something else because they keep pursuing it. And this really got me thinking about my own life. I've been pursuing happiness. I've been pursuing normal for a long time now. But by pursuing happiness, I'm telling myself that I'm not currently happy. By pursuing normality, I'm actually telling myself that I'm not normal. And what does normal mean anyway? So that's kind of a stupid goal. Something to think about. You know, other examples were like, if you want to have a better body, then you're telling yourself that your body's not good enough. If you're pursuing beauty, then you will always see yourself as ugly. No matter how beautiful other people perceive you to be, you're not matching up with what your wants and needs are. And we see this a lot. I mean, there's people who are super skinny who think that they're fat. There's people who are extremely pretty, like jaw-dropping, just stunning, and they think that they're ugly because they have a mental image of what beauty should be, of what being thin should look like, of what being wealthy should look like. And they're never going to reach that. So they'll always be unhappy. Really interesting stuff. So the more that you pursue something, the further away that it seems to be. But he also goes in to say that like there's an evolutionary purpose for negativity. Think about the fact that in nature, if an animal is unsheltered and it's raining, they become uncomfortable and they go and they seek shelter. If they are lost and they're away from their tribe, then they will seek their tribe. You know, they seek the comfort of a group. And people aren't all that different. Basically, Mark is saying in the book that our negative emotions are just evolutionary cues that we need to change our current environment. But what a lot of us do is we normalize or we ignore our negative emotions. And I'm guilty of this myself. I mean, I held resentment towards my parents for a very long time. It's taken me decades to even start to repair my relationship with my parents, you know? So every time you have a negative thought, negative emotion, don't ignore it, confront it, and figure out where is it coming from. Because every time you feel negativity, it's your mind and your body telling you that something needs to change. And the more that you push that away, the more problems you'll continue to run into. So don't see negativity as a bad thing. See negativity as a sign that something needs to change. Yeah, if you've gotten to the point where you kind of disassociate from your own emotions, you need to retrain yourself to feel your negative emotions so that you can start making the changes necessary to start reaching and achieving happiness. So again, Mark kind of goes into this example of the hedonic treadmill where, you know, if you seek positivity, then you will never reach it. If you seek happiness, that you will never reach it. If you want to buy a car and you finally buy a car, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this car's okay, but it doesn't have Bluetooth. So you finally upgrade to a car with Bluetooth, and you're like, well, this one's okay, but it's like a 2-cylinder, I want a 4-cylinder. So you get the 4-cylinder, and then you're like, well, I kind of want to learn how to drive a stick shift. I want a stick shift. So you get the stick shift, and you're like, well, I could really use a sunroof, right? You're never really satisfied with what you have because you're chasing after your goals. So how do you start to reverse this? Well, in the book, Mark talks about how you need to start chasing the negatives of what you want instead of the positives. This sounds a little strange, right? Why would you go chasing a negative emotion? Well, think about it this way. If you're chasing the outcome, once you reach the outcome, that's it. You've accomplished your goal, you've achieved it. There's nothing left. So you finally reach what you want, and then you're stuck without a purpose. So essentially what Mark is saying is that instead of chasing after your goals, choose your struggle. Figure out what struggle would you be okay with having. So if you really, really, really love dealing with people's problems, then you can build a career out of that, right? That can go in multiple different directions. Maybe you want to be a therapist or a psychiatrist. Maybe you want to be a life coach. But if you say that you want to help people achieve their goals, that's a completely different perspective than I enjoy the struggle of getting to understand somebody else's perspective and using what they have to say to help give them a path in life. Maybe you enjoy sitting down and crunching numbers all day. That's a problem in itself. People need to have numbers crunched. So instead of saying, I enjoy working in finance, saying, I enjoy solving the problem of taking large sets of data and parsing it into smaller sets of data, and then, I don't know, creating reconciliations based off of that and presenting that to people. Because that's a skill that you can build upon. So this is how you can start to determine what career paths do I want to go into in life, what kind of problems do I want to solve, and how can I add value to other people by solving those problems. And this is actually how you can start to figure out what kind of path in business that you want to take. Because starting a business is really just about solving people's problems, providing value for other people, and then consistently doing that day after day after day. So this was a very, very, very interesting read for me. Like I said, I'm only a few chapters in, but I just really wanted to share with you what I had learned from the first 3 chapters. One of the key takeaways that kind of summarizes all of this is ask yourself, instead of what do you want to accomplish, ask yourself, what pain do you want in your life? What are you willing to struggle for? Asking yourself those questions and coming up with real answers can be a much better determinant as to what direction your life is heading in and what kind of goals you want to set for yourself. So do what you want with this information. I'll go ahead and put a link to like the full audiobook probably in my description. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but I'm gonna probably do that if I can, because this is a really, really, really good book, and I suggest that everyone read it. So with all that being said, I'm on my own self-improvement journey, and if you want to follow along with that, go ahead and hit subscribe. I appreciate the time that you took today. That's all I really got for you, and until next time.